Right, this is a quick walk around video. This is for a Honda Civic 2.2 Type S GT model. Car you can see here is registered on a 59 plate with 62,000 miles on the clock. Finished in Nighthawk black, really lovely looking cars. Obviously a facelift version, as you can see, with the new style grille on the front, but more of that later in the video. Just to go around the car for you, all the lenses, absolutely as you'd expect. There's no condensation, cracks otherwise in those. Top of the wings, generally in very, so I try to get my reflection out of the way, in very nice condition. Any stone chipping is absolutely tiny. There's the odd one or two, but compared to a lot of this generation and age and mileage and in black, it's one of the nicest I've seen in terms of stone chipping, certainly. Worth pointing out, this video was actually done after the video that comes after it, funnily enough, whereby I pick up on a couple of items. One, as you clearly see, it's got no windscreen wiper on there, it's just the blade which we're waiting for, so that's just a reminder to me to make sure that's done. And there's one other thing which I'll bring up later in the video. But just to go around the car for you, alloy on this side has got some curbing on it, so it is a critical video, so don't think I'm going to pull any punches on it. So there is some curbing on there. Whether you actually do anything about that or not is down to the individual. Personally, I wouldn't touch it. Panel works very good. There's a couple of very minor blemishes which we'll just polish off, in all honesty. So we haven't done that yet. It's literally just come out, been cleaned but not polished, but that will be done. Rear alloy, better than the front one. Again, just a tiny bit of curbing at the top there that you can see. 2 Goodyear tyres on this side, worth pointing that out as well. And down the flanks, it's all very nice and crisp around there. Come on the back of the car. And the back here, all very clean and tidy, actually. And then just pop down on the offside here. There isn't a single dimple dent at all on this side of the car. It's really very clean indeed. Alloy on the back here, again, very good. Just the tiniest bit of curbing at the top there. Again, another Goodyear Eagle F1. In fact, there's a full set on the car. I should have just said that to begin with. But panel work again, really nice. And final wheel and tyre, again wheel, just a bit of curbing around on the far edge there, but doesn't detract from the car in any way. You know, it's a very genuine, very nice, clean and tidy car that's been very well looked after mechanically. So coming into the boot of the car now, they're absolutely massive boots on these Civics, easily the biggest in their class. 60/40 fold on the rear seats, the carpeted areas, all in very good condition for the age mileage of the car. It's lovely on the Civics, as you probably know. You've got this hidden sort of cubby hole underneath there. Just give that a yank, drop it down, and then you can end up with another sort of 6 or 7 inches of boot space, or depth rather, to the boot there. Obviously, you've got the parcel shelf all good and intact. So just coming to the back of the car now. Car benefits from a full set of overmats in the vehicle, which protect the carpets underneath, but the back of the car is in absolutely beautiful condition. Rear seats hardly really look as though they've been sat on very often, to be honest with you. It's all really tidy, no skags, no marks in there at all. Passenger door card on the near side here, all in really nice order. Much higher quality plastics on these later generation Civics. Again, as you can see there, footwell area with original mats in the car, and passenger seat, all in really lovely order. So come to driver's door card, as with the other ones, really top condition, much better quality plastics on here. There's hardly a mark ever to be seen on these later ones. Footwell area again, all good with the mat there, and driver's seat in super condition, really is. Obviously Type S GT spec, so you get this lovely big glass panoramic roof on them to let a lot of natural light in the car. So sat in the car now, just to quickly show you down here, got the original owner's manual pack for the car with manuals in there, pardon me, and the obviously very important lock and wheel nut key for the car is present. Just pull that back a second so I can pan around the rest of the dashboard. Dashboard's in wonderful condition. GTT model, so you've got this lovely big, very modern sat-nav system, all working beautifully as you can see there. Pixelation on the climate control, all absolutely spot on. Climate control buttons there because it's dual zone climate control on the Type S GTs. And the plastic surrounds around here, much more resistant to scratching, hence why the dashboard's in such lovely condition there. Two-tier dashboard, so you set your seat like this, so you've got the steering wheel rim sat between the two, so it doesn't obscure either. Works brilliantly. And just to go in there, you can see 62,368 miles. As I said, this was done after the video that follows. Auto lights and auto wipers on the car. Multifunction steering wheel, audio top left, cruise control top right, and information display on the bottom right there. Coming down here, obviously push button start, electric window switches, and your electric wing mirrors. On the following video, I'll point out that the near side wing mirror was slightly slow to retract and fold in. Just to show you, I'll go across to that one. Relay's been put into it, all working absolutely perfectly. And just to show you that the passenger driver one works as well. It certainly does. And then there we go. So finally, under the bonnet of the car now, beautifully laid out engine bay you'd expect from Honda. Brilliant engines. By the way, they always sound a lot noisier on the video than they do when you actually stood here. CDTI engines go on for an absolute eternity. This one's just been serviced. Worth pointing out, and very important as well, no cam belts on these cars. It's a cam chain, so there's no change, so you've got no big belt service due on the car. And on top of that, there's no diesel particulate filter or DPF filters on these cars either, which cause absolute chaos for customers and the trade alike, but nothing on these cars, so nothing to worry about. What should follow now will be a road test of this very car. Right, this is a quick road test video. This is for a Honda Civic, and it's the Type S GT model. The extra T on the end of the GT means it's got this later style sat-nav system fitted, which is a lovely feature on the car. This particular car has done 62,360 miles and is registered DN59DYO. The purpose of the road test, as I say on all of them, is really just to show you the car that we're advertising in operation, so you can actually physically see the vehicle, and it is the car that we're advertising. The road test is also done on exactly the same test drive loop as any prospective buyer will be driving, so in that sense I hope at least it'll be wholly representative of what you should feel yourself when you come and see and drive the car if you're interested in buying it. The car's literally just arrived with us, so this is my only my second drive. I had a brief drive in it when we bought the vehicle, so I'll feedback what I can to you. What I will say is, spoke to the driver that delivered it, started first turn or press of the button on these, of course. Straight away, it's very smooth, lovely example of one of these engines. They're simply superb engines. There's no warning lights on the dashboard relating to the engine or any other part of the car, but the engine is exactly what you'd expect and hope. No strange noises, no vibrations, nothing at all from it. Pull like an absolute train. It's the smallest car they put this particular engine in, and it's a really lovely match for the car itself. Engine then feeds through into clutch and into gearbox. Clutch on the car is lovely and smooth and quiet in operation. There's no squeaks, no clicks at all from it. Bites exactly the right point on the rev range, and bites really well actually. But the actuation's absolutely spot on. Clutch feeds into the gearbox of the car. As I always say on these Civics, you know, I don't get tired of saying it either. It's an absolutely wonderful gearbox. So it isn't always a given on them, you know, not on the Hondas at least anyway. There's so many manufacturers struggle to get good quality gear changes when they use cables to go from the gear linkage here to the box underneath the bonnet of the car, and sometimes you end up with really kind of vague, lifeless gear changes, and or you know, sometimes very bulky recalcitrant ones which get in the way of actually enjoying driving the car. But these, it's just like flicking a switch. It's a wonderful gear change, and I'm doing it for the sake of it, just to sort of show you for demonstration purposes, but you simply can't get lost with it. It's just a fantastic quality of linkage that they use, and obviously the internals of the box are incredibly strong. I can't detect any wear in it at all. I wouldn't expect to. They're very, very, very hard wearing, which is why also you've got to be very careful if you're looking at cars which have got indifferent service histories or patchy service histories, because these things take their miles unbelievably well. So it's easy for those who are scrupulous, let's say, to hide mileage on cars, especially ones as well built as this. Brake pedal on the car, nice solid pedal. There's no vibrations coming back up through the brake pedal either, which is nice. No pulsing. It's going to go in for a pre-delivery inspection once I finish this drive, but all feels very good indeed. I do absolutely fly these cars. It's a genuinely very quick car. You know, this would murder most hot hatches from 10 years ago, but you know, it delivers 50 to the gallon as well, so it's a really astonishing car. Tracks bullet straight. There's no vibrations coming back through the steering of the car, which is absolutely tight as a drum. Not an ounce of play or wander in the steering at all. Likewise, the suspension of the car. Now, this is my favourite setup of all the Civics. It's slightly wider than the track than the standard Civic, and it just feels slightly more composed than the standard one, which is already a very good car. But this, I don't know, there's something about these GTs, Type S's, that really do just sit beautifully on the road. Cruise control all working perfectly. Just check that for you. But it always does. But it's just nice to see it in operation. For those that don't know, of course, that the Type S was available in effectively two variants: a Type S version and a Type S GT. Don't, for goodness sakes, be duped by sellers that don't know what they're talking about, or don't know the Hondas very well, and tell you it's a GT when it isn't. If you go and see the car and it hasn't got a big glass panoramic roof like this one's got, hasn't got cruise control, hasn't got dual zone climate control, hasn't got cruise control, as I said, then it isn't a GT, no matter what they say. Must have that specification. We find it very, very hard to sell the standard ones, just because everyone wants the extras on these cars. It's very quiet as I'm driving along, very smooth. There's no noises coming from underneath the car that shouldn't be there, and by that I mean I'm listening out for kind of noises, sort of little clonks, bangs, where you might get a little bit of wear in the suspension of a car, which is not unsafe. It just means that might be a bush with a bit of wear in it, but there's nothing. It's absolutely smooth and tight. These are brilliant, brilliant cars. They really are. Looking around inside the car, all in nice order. So it's going to be valeted this afternoon as well, as part of the preparation of the car. But in terms of the drive of the vehicle, genuinely, I can't fault it. It drives exactly as I hoped or expect one to anyway. But it's just a sign that the car has been kept on top of. There's a couple of jobs straight away which we'll do, because I find them really annoying if they don't work quite right. I've got a windscreen wiper on the near side there which is smearing, so I'll have a new wiper blade fitted to the car as part of the pre-delivery inspection. And when you do the electric fold on the wing mirrors, the one on the near side there goes slightly slow and doesn't fully retract, so I'll have a new relay put into it. They're only 20 quid or so, but we keep them in stock, and that'll be popped onto the car as part of the preparation of the vehicle. It'll also have an engine service, oil change, filter change, and as I said, a full check over the vehicle for safety reasons, lights, levels, brakes, etc. But coming back to the interior of the car, you know, I do go on about these in the videos. I absolutely love sitting them. It's a lovely seating position. The way the steering wheel falls directly into hand, perfect size steering wheel, rim size, down to the wheel, all absolutely beautiful. But the dashboard itself, I think it's brilliant. It's a work of art, it really is. Beautifully made, there's no creaks or rattles from the interior of the car. You can also tell that this is the later model Type S and Civic, because they incorporated a lot of revisions, some underneath the skin, but also a lot inside. So around here, and the ventilation controls, you've got this new, it looks like carbon fibre, but clearly isn't. It's just like a perforated plastic. This used to be a smooth plastic there, but when people used to touch the buttons, fingernails, grubby nails, makeup, whatever you want to, whatever, it would mark it very quickly indeed. This is so much more resistant to that. Likewise, around the gear gaiter here, the plastics, all of much higher quality, as is the gear knob paint as well. That used to wear off quite quickly on the older Civics. But the worst area on the Civic was around the electric window switches here, because that would wear through pretty quick. I mean, it's very well made, as I said, but it just looked a bit tatty, whereas this much more resistant to that, which is it's a nice thing to see on this car. Obviously, as you know, this is the reason this car is called the T model. So you've got this much more modern sat-nav system fitted to the car than the standard vehicles, you know, as an option, and that's all working absolutely perfectly. Main architecture of the dashboard I absolutely love. You've got this two-tier design, so I've got the speedo directly in front of my field of vision, so I can look ahead to see what's coming up the road. I can follow cars, but at the corner of my eye I can easily take in the speed I'm doing. I don't have to take my eyes off the road to do it, which I think is a stroke of genius by Honda. Down below that we've got a more conventional binnacle, but even that's got a kind of a funky looking thing. It's got this kind of hologram effect, but big dominating rev counter, and then you've got fuel gauge and temperature gauge, so the right and left. Temperature gauge incidentally reading a third of the way up, which, as I always say, is exactly where you want to see on a Honda car, whether petrol, diesel or otherwise. So in all honesty, apart from a wiper blade and getting that little relay done on the folding mirror there, I genuinely can't fault the car. If there's anything I've missed on the video, please don't hesitate, do give me a call and I'll be happy to answer any questions you might have.